Celebrity Book Club.
What's up? My name is Clacy, and I am Chief Stew. I've been in the yachting business now for 7 years, and yeah, I love a yachty with a body. That means a guy who can clean a deck and some other things. Woo! I love Captain Lee.
Hi, I'm Christopher from South Africa. I've been in yachting for 2 years. I love having a toss-off with my knob and a couple other knobs at the end of a long charter. Nothing feels better than just kicking back and fripping the doors with some of me mates.
Hey, what's up? My name is Lisa. People call me Lee. I've been a stew for over 12 years, working for Captain Lee on and off in the Fort Lauderdale, Turks and Caicos, Provo, Nassau, Bahamas, other different ports. I love land, but I'm a water girl through and through. So here's the deal. If you follow my orders, we'll get along. Let's do this.
Hi, my name is Tracy. I'm from Long Island, New York. I have extensive experience in the service industry. I've worked at several different bars in the greater Hempstead area, and this will be my first ever summer on a 60-footer.
Hi, my name is Brody. I am the chef. I like to cook steak, lobster, venison. I can cook anything if you ask me to. But I hate cooking eggs. But I'll do it. Anything for Captain Lee.
My name is Olga. I come from Crimea. My mother taught me how to make food, and now I cook 5-star food on boat for many wealthy individuals. Anything from oyster to chips and salsa to bread, soup. I don't like gay people.
Who's that knocking at the door? It's all your friends, you filthy whore. Your husband's gone and we've got books and a bottle of wine to kill. It's Hollywood. It's books. It's gossip. I'm shook. It's memoirs. It's martinis. It's Studio 54. It's Celebrity Book Club. Come read it while it's hot. Celebrity Book Club. Tell your secrets, we won't talk. Celebrity Book Club. No boys are allowed. Celebrity Book Club. Say it loud and proud. Celebrity Book Club.
Buzz me in, I brought the Cuervo.
Hey, best friend! So we're going to be making a story right here!
Welcome aboard,
Hello.
mate.
Ahoy, my first mate captain, ship deck, deckhand, galley wench.
Galley who? Galley do.
Let's set sail, right?
Yeah, let's set sail.
How are you, by the way? I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've been in the studio. It's been kind of a tough time for both of us.
No, it has been actually a while since we've been in the studio. So I just came back from Boston. You just came back from Ridgewood.
Yeah, I did. I've had a long week in Colonial Ridgewood.
This was my first, return to Boston in 2 years.
Yeah, it's changed so much.
It literally has changed so much. Urban Outfitters is not in the square anymore.
No, the square's dead. I was there over Christmas. It's insane.
It's insane. I got there and you're like...
There's a Bonobos on every corner. There's a Warby Parker, inside every Bonobos.
A Warby Parker across... Newbury Comics is still there.
Chugging along.
Thank God.
But all they sell is Funko Pop statues now.
Yeah, it's all Funko Pops and new vinyl and still CDs, but the CDs are still $13.99.
And there's a Balenciaga store now. There's even more expensive stores, but all the designers that sell just fucking logo wear that costs $3,000, so everyone can know that.
For all the fucking sheeple.
Yeah, it's just Sheeple Central.
But you know what? We'll get more into Boston stuff in our now new VIP lounge that you're going to hear
on Friday, bitches.
On freaking Friday, not Wednesday, hump day. Yeah, we're saving the sexiest Boston gossip for Friday. But speaking of Boston, it's a port city.
It is a maritime hub in so many ways.
It's a city of dirty sailors and dirty water.
Of sails and motors and below decks and above decks.
You're on the edge of your boat right now.
Yeah.
We are reading none other. And everyone's been requesting this. Please read this book. Please read this
banging down our door asking us to read this book.
We are reading this week Running Against the Tide, True Tales from the Stud of the Sea. Who is the Stud of the Sea, Stephen?
None other than Captain Lee, star of Below Deck. And I'm not talking about Below Deck Mediterranean. I'm talking about Below Deck, the classic version.
OG.
The Caribbean version.
We're talking Nassau. We're talking Provo. We're talking Turks and Caicos. We're talking Anguilla, St. Martin,
Antigua,
St. John,
Barbuda, St. Kitts, Nevis.
Anguilla.
Puerto Rico, Tortola, U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, Bahamania, Cuba. But not really Cuba.
Less Cuba.
Cozumel even. For those who don't know, Below Deck is a Bravo reality show. That's basically kind of like an upstairs, downstairs type of show. So each episode, there's like a crazy, rich, obnoxious like guest and their friends who come charter a boat for like 3 days. And then you follow the drama of the whole crew who have to serve and cater to them. And sometimes there's weather mishaps, and sometimes the crew has like dietary restrictions, and like sometimes, or the guests have dietary restrictions.
Usually, like maybe the guests want to party really hard, which is something Captain Lee talks a lot about.
Yeah,
Captain Lee's big rule in Below Deck is no drinking for the crew.
All right, just right off the bat, let's get into it. Have you been on a boat that's not a whale watch?
Yes.
Okay.
We went
Break
on...
it down.
Okay, boom. We didn't have a normal prom. Sorry. I went to an alternative high school. We had an all-school boat dance. And it was a boat that went around Boston Harbor for 3 to 4 hours.
Okay.
So...
I wasn't thinking booze cruise. I was thinking, like, have you been on, like, more of, like, a sailboat, like a yacht?
Okay. So we went on that catamaran in Key West.
Oh, we did? Okay, yeah.
And that I got viciously nauseous on after snorkeling, but then I recovered and was able to resume.
But remember, there was also a bride that got nauseous with her whole bachelorette party? And they were all in their just like Rachel's bride-to-be t-shirts, and the bride was just frumpily, angrily stewing below deck.
Downstairs. And
which is the worst place to be if you're nauseous on a boat.
Yeah, because I went down there to vomit, and like she was also like down there, or no, I think she was like sleeping. It's so bride like vomit one and
to just be the angriest one on your like weird expensive bachelorette destination weekend.
It was like this combo boat, great crew honestly, and I have even more respect for them. I had respect for them on that boat. And I have even more respect for them now after reading this book.
And knowing the trials and tribulations that it takes to be on a boat.
My first take on this book is like, why would anyone want to work on a boat?
I mean, there is a love of sea. There's a freedom. And it's a bit, there are those moments, I mean, when there was some big storm on one of his very first trips when he was working with Crazy George.
Crazy George.
And they get to, like, I think it was the DR that they were going to. And, like, they just come out of a storm in the morning and the sun's rising. And you see this beautiful, picturesque Caribbean island, the crystal blue waters,
That's
the
why
palm
you do
trees, the calm. And it all just starts to come together. And you think, you know, how many beautiful moments like this does the average person get in their life? And you're grateful for the opportunity to be there on the beautiful open sea. So I think it's those moments of pure natural beauty and solitude that make it worth it.
Well, I'll admit I had always meant to watch Below Deck, and sometimes you need a push of a book to say, hey, slow down for a second.
Yeah.
And just watch Below
Stop
Deck.
mainlining all of these marquee Hulu series.
Life of Beth or whatever that I downed.
Right. It's like, just go back, watch the classics, read Macbeth, watch Below Deck.
Citizen Kane, Below Deck Season 2. And I also was promised a lesbian captain. That's where I was really confused. And that was someone telling me about Below Deck Mediterranean.
So that was likely me telling you about Below Deck Mediterranean.
Yeah, I'm like, someone was telling you about a lesbian on a Bravo show. Who could it be?
I've watched several seasons of Below Deck Med, and it is great, and it's very fun, and it has things I love, including a lesbian captain and then an Australian chief stir.
Chief stir?
Because there's a boat always has like a set of like 3 stewardesses who are always women, and there's like a chief steward, and then there's the first stew, and then second stew.
Yeah, and so like...
Or no, second stew and then third stew. And the third stew is always like really bad at her job.
Yeah, third stew is always like the sluttiest girl who's like, I'm like so excited, and I majored in hospitality and boats at Johnson and Cranston University.
There was this Johnson and Cranston on Below Deck Med who one season she was like she like billed herself as having all this bartending experience, and then like the very first episode a guest like asked her to make a martini, and she's like looking it up on her phone but like not getting reception, and they're like, wait, I thought you had bartending experience. She was just, and they're like, what did you do? And she was like, well, like mostly Jack and Cokes. That was just, she had like a degree in Jack and Coke.
Degree in Jack and Coke. Here's the thing. You also get a lot of liars on the sea.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to build a crew, and you can't, do the screening.
No, because you've got to set sail, and the guests have already chartered the boat, and you need 7 hands.
You need a crew. So then there's like second stew who will be like fun and flirty, but like knows what she's doing. And then chief stew is always, I'm on the episode I watch, just like the most like hardened waitress who's still hot, but is like probably has like a boyfriend of 7 years who hasn't proposed.
You are defining chief stew right now. It's so still hot boyfriend of 7 years who hasn't proposed.
And it's like, don't fuck with me. She also gives like producer PA energy.
Yeah.
But like it's more waitress.
I
so
mean,
it's
she's
hard-end.
literally the chief waitress of a boat. It's like it's the most. She's at the top of the waitress food chain.
I'm even horny just thinking about all the chief stews.
You know who's such
there.
a chief stew is Mary from Selling Sunset.
Yes, she is defined chief stew, and Chriselle is so first stew.
Second stew.
Third stew. Wait, I guess, and then the twins are the captains who are like, I'll like be this fatherly figure, but you will have to walk if you like fuck up on boat.
Yeah. Although they're never really firing anyone.
They are really not.
Sunset.
Captain Lee is giving much more like...
He's much more no nonsense. I mean, he's seen it all.
He is, and in this book...
He's been pulled over by the Coast Guard for potential drug trafficking.
Okay, he's had to clean up a huge dump in a shower.
Well, he actually like...
he sent a photo of it.
He walked off the job.
Yeah. Never mind. He didn't clean it up. He gives very the coach from Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Energy.
I mean, okay, I'll say this. So I watched a little bit of the Caribbean. What do you say?
I say Caribbean.
As a member of the Boston Phillips hosts, I was always taught to say Caribbean. And I always thought that it sounded more worldly. And that Caribbean to me was like a little bit more like mixed drinks Jimmy Buffett, like kooky fun. And I was like, no, darling, the Caribbean is where you go to recover from tuberculosis. And like where you have a chef and a catamaran.
The way we've had this conversation. Where you're just being like, and I want it to be sounding even richer. So, but it is more just like, well, we went to the Caribbean on an ocean liner, and you go to the Caribbean when you get a deal for $5.49. Cheapcaribbean.com.
Yes, and you have a Groupon for a timeshare, and you're going with a couple that you hate.
Yeah. So I also watched Below Deck Caribbean, and I was like waiting for the Captain Lee. He's I'm almost brought to silence because he's so silent.
He's like not on the show. I watched like 3 episodes. I was like, literally, where is this character? And someone time to be like, okay, we got to pull it into port. All right, I've got 6 meters on my port side. I've got 7 meters on starboard. Okay, give me a little bit more lee.
He's always like, give me more lead. Let's drop anchor now. And then they all do their like meetup where they're like all in the banquettes. And he'll just be like, do a good job. And we all have a good time. We get paid well. Do a bad job, I'll send you packing. And you're like, okay.
And then that's it. And then the episode's over. And you're like, wow, thank you for all of this personality, Dad.
And everyone's so like, ugh, I don't want to like mess up and like honestly, be bad to Captain Lee. And then I was watching a preview for like another episode, and I was like, should I watch season 9? Because it looks like he's being maybe a little bit sassier there. I don't know. I feel like the people that maybe like him and why he got a deal are like the same people that love John McCain, and like I'm getting just like people who want this stern dad at sea.
He is giving daddy vibes, Straight Talk Express boat stuff. But yeah, so there's definitely a Caribbean dad McCain energy to him.
Yeah, I mean, I like his vibe. Like, he has that, like, hot dad vibe where it's like he has the full white beard and full white hair, but head of hair with, like, where someone is so sunburnt and they have that gold chain over their salmon, tank top. You see a dad like that on the beach, and you're like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
He's fun, but stern.
He's fun but stern, and I'm sure he's fun but stern for Marianne as well.
His bride, if you will. The way he, like...
The way she's mentioned twice in the whole book.
He's like, oh, I really want to get back to Marianne. It's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah, you literally didn't. You wanted to hang out with the other captain, Morgan.
Yeah, he's always like, sure. Why do I love the sea? I love the smell. I love, like, the movement of the boat, and I love having a few drinks on...
I definitely think he's an alcoholic because, like, he's always kind of, like... disparaging other alcoholics and like saying that they're bad, but then he's always just being like, there's nothing sailors love more than rum, and like, yeah, I had a couple more captains at the bar.
I tried to make myself a rum sour last night while reading this book to get in the mood of like being a sailor, but I didn't have any simple syrup, so it was definitely more on the sour end. I did rum, lemon, grapefruit juice.
Oh, super tart.
So it was super tart.
Don't be tardy for the party.
Yeah, it was called, I call it the tardy yachty.
The tatty yachty.
But he gives off that like career alcoholic face. You know what I mean? With that smile and the redness.
But what's nice is that the constant Caribbean tan kind of covered the redness a little. He doesn't look so Irish. I will say, it's like the book is actually giving what he is giving on the show, which is kind of like you're always kind of hoping for some sort of payoff, and then it just isn't there. It's like he'll tell this whole long story. Like, first of all, this book absolutely did not need to be written. I'm just going to say that right now. This book was
one of the most random books we've ever read, where you're like, he's giving tea, but it's kind of like, who cares and who asked? And like,
who asked?
You're just, maybe a better sailor writer could have written this in a better way. And like, it was conversational. I don't know, babe, wrap the story up. And I guess that goes along with his grandfather thing of like, grandpa's had a few too many rum and cokes. Like, he's telling me about like, how much water they needed to put in the fuel hole. Like, he's like, and this other crazy time, the guy got so wasted and he put water where the gas goes.
I just opened it. Lots of people think dark link with coal because winter is both of these things, but the engine room didn't offer that combo. Our diesel was going so we could maintain our direction, and that place was hot. It had to be over 160 degrees in there, and at the same time, the engine was putting out temperature. It was also putting out noise. Nothing happens. It's very just like, and it was stormy, but we got to the port.
Well, because he's still kind of with us. And only in the last chapter
no, but there's nothing even like that crazy.
His most dramatic story about the Coast Guard, he's always like getting paid by like someone to take a boat from Provo to Nassau so they don't have to pay like a marina fee. And then it's like 2 pages on like marina fees and laws. And he's like, here's the thing. If you own a Title III yacht of 60 square feet, you have to pay a fee of $276,000 a year to the harbor master of Nassau.
And that's why it makes so much more sense to just unmoor your yacht and like drive it to a different island once a year, because you'll be saving $500,000. So this story goes on for ages, and they're just on. The Coast Guard is like searching the boat looking for cocaine because of this like compartment that was where the bathtub was supposed to be in the original model, which was made in Taiwan and was a beautiful boat with the Taiwanese manufacturer seal of approval and really gorgeous wood that was actually getting ripped up by the Coast Guard. The story goes on and on and on and on and on, and they don't find any drugs. Nothing happens.
They don't get arrested.
They don't get arrested.
And he's like, whew, that guy sure could have saved some money.
And then the next day, we caught a Marlins game, and I had some rum, some Captain Morgan.
Right,
and
drinking.
Then 2 days later, I got a flight back to Turks and Caicos.
This is what I'm saying. I think he's always at, like, a just kind of good level of rum and coke where it's, like, never... I think he can, like, put 20 away.
Oh, she can hold her liquor.
So, yeah, I'm just like, are you... He really makes himself, like... sound like this upstanding citizen too while trying to be like, oh yeah, us sailors, we don't make good decisions. And it's like, are you not mentioning like the chicks you fucked when you're like always
Yeah, you
away
think
from
he's
your
too
bride?
timing Marianne. I mean, Marianne is barely, because this book starts. He's like, so I was a welder.
I already had 4 kids.
Biloxi. And then I bought a bar, and it was a biker bar. And then they tried to raise the rent, so then he did his like House Hunters International Yahoo search and was just like Turks and Caicos. Okay, we're moving to Turks and Caicos.
And then he's like building. It was just so, like boomer stuff. Like, damn, when you could just move and build a bar for 1,000 in Turks and Caicos. And he's like, but then he still has to make it so boring, being like, the thing is, the licensing fees for bars you have to pay in Turks and
As
Caicos.
a non-native resident are $2,000, and then everyone likes to do tiefin.
Right, which means
Skimming off the top.
skimming off the top.
And that's how things are done in Turks.
And it's like, yeah, well, here's the thing. I'm calling you in, Captain Lee. Maybe when you're a white guy who moves from Indianapolis and wants, oh, I think I can just move to this island.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He was just like, oh, cost of living's cheaper. But it's just like, well, the cost of living is going to end up being more expensive for you. Because, hello, honey, everyone's going to be dipping
They
into your
want
pockets.
their own, yeah.
Everybody wants theirs. It's not just you get to come here
It's not
and be
all
like,
rum and sunsets.
Yeah.
It's this cash cow. Then he opens a bar and a strip mall. And then he just basically takes one boat ride and gets like so nauseous, but is still obsessed with the sea.
And and this comes back to your point about him not liking his wife, because I'm just like, you were in the process of opening this like strip mall like breakfast joint, but like he was like kind of just like always like having some shitty business partner, not like figuring out how to make it profitable. And then, like, the first opportunity you get to, like, take a job that involves you leaving your wife for, like, weeks at a time, you're like, ooh, love this career.
And he was like, I was actually vomiting the entire time, but I knew it was for me. Oh, also, this book, he's always just, like, searching for his captain hours, which takes, like, 7 years to, like, get your hours. Anyway, he's captaining this riverboat, and then, of course, long explanation about, like, the legalities of gambling and why riverboat casinos exist, blah, blah, blah. So there's this woman on the boat who's like so addicted to like her slot machine, which he also shames her for. And she has 1 bucket of quarters and 1 bucket for vomit. And she's doing quarters, vomit.
She's got
quarters.
2 buckets. So she's got the bucket for the quarters that she's putting into the slot machine, which he called the One-Arm Bandit.
Okay, wait. I found the vomiting passage. By the way, one of the enduring images I had of working those casino boats was one woman so obsessed with the one-armed bandits, the slot machines, that despite the fact that the motion of the ship was clearly making her nauseated, she just wouldn't give up. She had a couple of coin buckets with her, like a lot of the veteran players tend to do, with one earmarked for coins that would go into the machine, another empty bucket to catch all the winnings she was anticipating. One arm cradled around the bucket of change, the other slightly more developed and muscular arm pulling down the lever.
I like that detail.
Yeah, that was good of him and Michael Scholl,
I think that was maybe the copyright, the underwriter, ghostwriter.
But this woman added a 3rd bucket for puking into. She was so sick that she kept retching, but she was so determined that she wouldn't go lie down. Quarter in, pull the lever, puke, white mouth, quarter in, pull the lever, etc. And that has amped up the writing, put it in, puke, retch.
I think Michael Scholl was having a little fun at this point.
Yeah. We eventually had to intercede. In part, this was because she was clearly having a rough time with motion sickness and needed a break, but it was also because it was pretty disruptive to the rest of the guests. This woman holding a bucket of sick and waving it around. Also, I'm like...
Calling it sick is very, I guess that's just like
this
boomer.
Old-timey, yeah. It created a perimeter of empty machines around her, and part of our job was to ensure that there was... few unmanned slot machines. Okay, and then he's like, he's like, part of my job is to make sure,
So if you can imagine, the machines directly in her vicinity were unoccupied, which of course we wanted them to be occupied for the duration of the voyage so that we could be continually making money from those gamblers.
And then he talks about how hard it is as a captain, because even if there is a cheap boat and people are getting sick, which does happen a lot, that like your job is hired by the casino and you want people to gamble as long as they can.
Look at that, the time when there was about the story about the guy who didn't change the engine filters.
Oh, and that was when it got to the Bravo gossip. He's like, so all these fame whores, he was like, I tell him, go change the filters. And he says, let me find the sound guy and the camera guy. And I say, no, you take orders from me. We have 24 filters to change.
Yeah.
And this is
He lays
very
down the law.
him trying to make it seem like
He's this really stern badass.
badass
captain.
who doesn't even care that he's now been on 13 seasons
Yeah.
of Below Deck. He's like, I only did it because I care about the sea, and they had originally hired him to watch the other
to
captain.
be a fake captain. I mean, that was, I guess, kind of interesting behind the curtain moment when he was like, when they first approached him, they're like, we've hired someone else to be like the actor playing the captain.
Right.
But would you be secret real captain? But like when we can shoot scenes of like fake captain doing stuff, and he was just like, that's not going to fly. Chain of command on a boat. It starts and ends with me. Buck stops here, buddy.
He's like, so sure, do I like the money? Yes. But not the ethics behind it.
Celebrity Book Club.
He has all these insane folksyisms.
He calls the rumor mill in the Caribbean the coconut telephone.
He also has this thing where he says he's talking about that guy, that chef he hated, Dwayne,
Yeah.
and how he was not popular with the ladies, and he was like, he couldn't get laid in a women's prison with a handful of pardons.
And then this other one, I forget what it was in reference to, but squeeze a nickel till the buffalo shit.
Oh yeah, he could. Yeah, that was like he could just like get money out of anything.
Oh, right. It was about like an owner of a boat who was always like
Yeah.
renting the rooftop
Yeah,
as a yoga studio.
because there used to be a buffalo on the nickel.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And
Okay, Mr. Change, Mr. Currency over
I
here.
did take my currency courses, unlike Reed Drummond's children.
It did. Here's the thing about the casino boats that I was like, no, of course some boats can really make you less nauseous.
Sorry, what are you saying?
I guess it really made me think about different types of
Different
boats.
types of boats.
Yeah.
And how some boats have the capacity to
make you less nauseous or...
it's a really good point. And he kind of alludes to this in some ways because there's the point with the Coast Guard boat, right? When they get boarded on the way to Miami and they're searching for coke.
Yeah.
And they're actually moving slow. The Coast Guard boat, because it is a more narrow body boat that is designed to go very fast, at a slow speed becomes much more unstable. And so he's smiling to himself, thinking about the fact that all the Coast Guard guys who are still on their own boat are getting very nauseous.
Right.
Because of the size and shape of boat and the nausea that induces.
And that's very him being like, he'll be like, so I kind of have a sick and twisted sense of humor. But by that, he just means he's like laughing about the Coast Guard getting nauseous.
No, that other time when he was like, yeah, I had an interview to work for this client. Or no,
it was for
the
Bravo.
Bravo. And he was like, I've got a pretty crazy sense of humor. So when they asked me for a psych eval, I was just like, ooh, what naughty thing am I going to do? Anyway, I passed the psych eval. And you're like,
but
cool,
he
so
does-
nothing happened?
Okay, here's where it's like maybe you are just getting your dick sucked by the chief engineer, because when he talks about the reasons that reality shows do psych evals, he references this one insane gay murder case that happened from the Jenny Jones, Jenny Jones
murder. The gay panic Jenny Jones murder.
which I watched a Forensic Files about, and I'm sure there's going to be like a true crime pod about it. It's basically like this guy went on Jenny Jones to say, I have a crush on you, and then he murdered him.
A guy was
gay
brought.
guy.
A guy was brought onto Jenny Jones, and the conceit of the episode was someone has a secret crush on you, and the guy assumed it would be a woman, and then they bring out a man on stage, and it was like this man had a secret crush on him. The guy was so freaked out, what people are calling the gay panic defense, that 3 days later he found the guy, shot and murdered him.
Yeah.
And so that led to reality show producers needing to do a psych eval on you to, I guess, make sure that you wouldn't murder someone for being gay or liking you. But you think that he only brought up that gay anecdote because he's getting blown by men regularly on the Bravo
I think it feels very sailor, like what happens at sea, because a lot of the times you're the one being like, Lily, DMX is gay, this guy is gay.
I
and
never said DMX was gay. I said that there was a homoeroticism to an overall.
Yes, but we're moving past it. All I'm saying is like, I'm going to go on a limb and say I think Captain Lee is a little like what happens at sea stays at
that's
sea.
Really interesting,
and that's why the book is like so full of details of like, I mean, I think he is also a boring grandfather sailor that it likes talking about like square footage and like fuel holes.
I mean, there's not a lot of women in this book. So it's like there's the scene where they go to a brothel on the DR in the beginning when he's like working for that guy Crazy George, and Crazy George leaves the like visa document, the like boat registration document like papers at the brothel. And my first thought was, you never see brothels anymore.
You really don't.
And it used to be just such a fun sort of town center. You know, there's the tavern, there's the keep, there, you know, you can get a room, spend the night, meet a woman, leave the next day.
I bet there probably are more brothels maybe in port cities that we're not walking around Dumbo. And it's not like above Pea and Pickles is a brothel. You know what I mean? Like, I think maybe in some other places.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, all the sailors hopping off the East River ferry.
From, like, the Dumbo, like, MTA ferry. They're, like, putting down their Apple Pay for $20.
Yeah, after their long journey from 34th Street. They want to nestle into just like some sort of IKEA bunk bed, like glorified dorm above Pea and Pickles.
And Marianne, I don't know, in the black and white photos, I was like, it's also the thing where it's like, are you from the Midwest or are you lesbian? Like, I feel like she maybe has some fun.
Oh, wait, does she have such like frosted tips?
She just like has a short bowl cut, kind of, that you're like, okay, Marianne. I mean, it looks like they have also tons of fun.
What happened to your book? Did you read it at sea? Lily's book is like completely waterlogged.
I definitely
method acting.
Yeah, one method act. As to quote Pam Grier, an actor prepares. And I definitely just like spilled seltzer on it yesterday or the day before.
Badass. No, you read hard.
I read hard, and again, I was traveling from Boston to New York.
She reads a book hard, puts it away wet.
Yeah. Another insane moment about ethics is when he won't cover for his boy, who I guess is not really his boy, on the boat. Is basically this guy's like, my wife is coming to the boat. Will you tell her that like I was with you, on Wednesday? The boat owner was like fucking chicks, and he was like, my wife is going to come to the boat today. Like, I need you to say, like, if she asks, or like volunteer it, like, oh yeah, me and, Eddie over here, we're tossing back rum and cokes. And he's like, absolutely not.
That goes against my morals as a captain.
Yeah.
One thing about captains, we always tell the truth
He
to
was
the
like,
wives of owners.
He was like, I am not. He's like, you're paying me to be a captain, and I will never lie.
Well, this is very the pay the barber moment where he's like, when the other guy wants to like, he's like, well, I'm paying you for 8 hours of work, so like go to my house and cut my lawn if we're going to dock after 4. And he was just like, no, you pay me to be a captain. Like, the barber doesn't get paid less money if the guy's bald.
Right.
Pay the barber. Pay your captain.
Hell yes. I mean, this guy was being so rude and was like, okay, will you do like yard work for me? And he was like,
I was really cheap.
We need to talk about the Boston couple.
The Boston couple that has a honeymoon and invites 12 people on their honeymoon cruise.
If I want to party and feel glam, even the fanciest yachts, you're like, I don't know, it's still like low ceilings.
Thank you.
And you're getting even if you are getting surf and turf, it has to be frozen.
Yes, no, the food, and it's just like, this is what always disgusts me about
it's basically like being
the show. It's so weird, and like it's just like kind of the worst part about like what people would do with their money, because it's you're paying for the
like
isolation,
the
and it's like you're paying for this incredibly tacky experience. It's actually not that fab. It's like there's no food you can make on like a electric burner, which is what all boats have. That's like going to be that incredible, and it's all going to be like frozen or random or weird, and
because it has to like stay in the galley.
And they always want the most like nasty whatever, just like covered in truffle parm, like balsamic all over everything. And then it's just like, and then you're in this kind of like, even in big nice room, it's still kind of like cramped.
No, you're still in this kind of cramped thing. And I would rather take a sunset cruise and then go to my gorgeous hotel room and not be like in this low ceilinged, wavy room.
I mean, we're hundreds of millions of dollars for a big, huge yacht, one of the big, huge like motorboat yachts. Like, it's insane. It's absolutely
It's
madness.
really the food for me that it's like, people are like, oh, like, but you have this private chef. And it's like, again, you're still probably getting like...
Well, he actually has what I think is a really, really brilliant breakdown. And this is when I really kind of like felt like I was like, you know what? He's got the right attitude. When the really rich couple, the like monarchs.
Oh, yeah. And they just want like deep dish pizza?
Well, and they're like, so like the boat is docked in like San Francisco, and they like live in this condo that overlooks the dock. And the rich guy is always like watching the boat with his telescope from his house. And then they're like paying him to staff the yacht when they're not using it. And they have this like big, huge apartment. He's like, with every, stove, whatever, like...
Oh, they say they're like Viking, stove, wolf range.
So he explains this by like saying that old money, the difference between old money and new money clients. And this is actually, I think, so true.
Very true.
Old money, like... He's like, old money, the owners were taught that people who work for them were treated like people. They had emotional dignity. In some cases, they were even taught to treat the people who work for them like family. They stayed on for seasons after season. And, it's true. I'm sorry. But people used to know how to have staff. They used to know how to have servants. And they were treated as members of the family. And they lived on the property. And they took care of the property because they cared. And he was like, these owners were taught to love the water and that yachting was a great way to experience joy. New money sees yachting as a way to show off your wealth.
Exactly. And this is insane. They don't want to cook in their apartment on their fancy range because, quote unquote, it'll make their apartment smell like food.
Yeah.
So they just have them like warm up frozen pizzas on the boat.
What's so insane is that, first of all, their boats are called the Sea Hag. They have
which is fab.
the Sea Hag 3 and a 116-foot Fed ship called the Sea Hag 2. So he's just like, they have all of this insane, but not only do they not cook in their huge apartment, They don't order even from like restaurants in San Francisco, one of the world's great food cities.
Quote Captain Lee. That was fab. He was being so like, yes, Ellis Waters.
So they called down. So what did they do? They called down to their boat, ordering their chef to prepare their dinners, which were instructed to send on a dolly across 6 lanes of traffic to their apartment. That's so insane.
So psycho.
It's like the most psycho, like, I want to control people and I just want everything to be like private and isolated and separate just for me. And then he goes, okay, well, we had a great chef who could grill, sear, barbecue, sous vide, or flambe pretty much any kind of menu they could possibly request. What did they want? Mac and cheese, pizza rolls, frozen deep dish pizzas, franken beans, borderline TV dinners. Why employ a chef on a yacht to make you hot dogs? There's a whole world out there to see and touch and taste, so why go through it wearing dark shades and rubber gloves?
I love it. I mean, when I read that, here, Captain
Clapping.
Lee.
That is, I mean, literally.
And that's why people do love Captain Lee as
Yeah.
much as maybe sometimes he goes on about, fuel after a few rum and cokes at the typewriter, but he has the right outlook.
Like
on.
that to me is everything wrong with our fucking culture, like right there in one sentence. It's just like people don't actually want to taste and feel like the things that the world has to offer them. They want to cocoon themselves in their money.
Well, also, I feel like the whole thing...
And in service of the worst taste imaginable.
And then, I mean, another food request he gets where someone wants a New Zealand suckling pig.
Right.
And it's like, oh, no, you want to fly. Everyone just wants to pay extra to say they have the rare thing.
Yeah.
Instead
It's
of just
obscene, and it's causing global warming.
eat local suckling pig.
All aboard the SS segment. What does she eat? What does she wear? How does she live?
How does she sail?
Aye, Captain.
Ahoy! Matey, okay.
What does he eat? He's like steakhouse vibes.
Yeah, he's steakhouse, but he's so like also Mahi Mahi burgers. I mean, he's like, sure, do I love like a truffle risotto, like covered steak, but I also like burgers, mac and cheese. Like, you gotta have comfort food to like have the good stuff.
I mean, yeah, it's just the most hotel menu shit. It's just frozen crab cakes. Like, he's not like, I don't think he's getting like all even like fresh papaya and coconut on the beach. Like, he doesn't care.
I think he is absolutely getting, he's an island. There's a reason why he moved to the islands. I think he knows, and he's like, that's my girl.
Okay, maybe he has
And she's
he has a coconut girl. Okay.
Yeah, he has a coconut girl. He's sipping out of it, and he's looking at Marianne. He's like, it's a moment like these.
Yeah.
moment like this.
It's a moment like this. This makes it
Okay,
all
this
worth
is it, okay?
I love being a tax-paying resident of the Turks and Caicos.
What does she wear? I mean, like a sailor's uniform, and if not, I was
Golf polos, right? Am I wrong?
obsessed with his chain. Yeah, he has this. So it's a gold rope chain. And then I want to say, is
like
it a
Cuban
compass?
link, or is it like a bigger kind of rope?
No, more rope. I think it is.
Well, you and I have Cuban link chains.
Oh, this is Cuban link.
It kind of
okay.
lays flat.
Okay, it's not. It's a little more twisty.
Oh, okay.
And then it's like a circular pendant of. It probably is a compass, but it's like a small
'cause of
circular.
navigation stuff.
Yeah, it looked like there was a dial. Anyway, honestly, it looked sexy on his red, tan skin. And then I feel like it's polo. I also feel like he's like tank top, like big faded, like Cape Cod dad tank top. That's like salmon.
Okay, you're kind of veering into what you would wear in the Caribbean right now.
I just described a chain. I'm just saying, like, you don't think he has a faded tank that says like.
Oh, that says just like I'm in Key West. Like, what's your problem?
I don't think it's sassy at all. I think it's just like faded and says Key West or like.
I think
Bahamas.
he definitely has a lot of like polos from various boats that he's worked on. Just like the Honor,
the Sea Shanty.
Yeah, the Sea Hag 3.
Right. Sea Hag 3 polos. Me later tonight going on eBay to look for Sea Hag 3 polos.
They're always called just like the Endeavor or like Casamar or something.
One was called like Southern Charm.
Oh, wait, Southern Nights.
Yeah,
that was the
Southern
one
Nights.
with the sketchy guy who was being a drug dealer.
Right. Southern Nights. Southern Nights. You know that song?
Anymore or just that
it's
barely
like
line?
Southern Nights, like how do I love those Southern? I'm gonna slowly walk away now and put my head in the
awkward sauce.
Okay, and never mind. Sorry, I'm really awkward and weird and quirky today.
Okay, you're literally I'm sorry, Sir Quirks a lot. Who let you out of your quirk cage? Okay, here's my question. Footwear. Because obviously you don't wear shoes on a boat.
You're not, what are you talking about? You're not barefoot.
Oh, yes you are. Revealing yourself as the girl who hasn't watched multiple seasons of Below Deck Men.
No, but you think he's fully barefoot.
You have to be barefoot on a boat because it's for grip.
Don't you think he's in grippy, like weird dad shoes?
Well, that's what I guess
Merrells?
I'm asking. Does he have grippy Merrells for... Is it grippy Merrells? Is it like the water mocks that like, you know, everyone loves in a streetwear way, but that...
Yeah, I think he's in...
Is it like straight up Crocs? Is it Tevas? Is it like weird water shoes that are way more dad or like maybe even Vibram? Like, this is what I'm trying to say. But I'm telling you right now, you are barefoot on a boat. And when they make the guests take their shoes off. And if you saw Mrs. Dow Jones' story the other day, she was saying, like, what do you wear on a boat? You can't wear shoes on a boat, so you have to, if you're going to, like, a Bitcoin yacht party, you need to, like, think about your outfit accordingly.
What about
and you can't
boat shoes? So now I'm remembering, I feel like I have been asked to take off my shoes on a boat. And then I think he is it's like a Merrill meets Croc that, like, someone would wear in a streetwear way, but his are a little bit more dad. I'm like, couldn't be transferred to streetwear.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I disagree. And I think it's more of a Teva.
I will honestly bet you a rum and coke.
It's more in the Croc.
I just don't think he's
Croc
having
mock
his big,
family.
huge toes out and about.
You think he's self-conscious about his large, sexy dad toes?
I just think he's like not about to show his toes. I think he thinks like something
now
could
he's
drop.
like so Mormon, and you're like, a man doesn't show his.
No, that's
toe.
just like a little more like hippie. His vibe to me, like he's flip-flops.
Oh, because it's like,
on land. But I think
that's what we're talking about land here.
Oh, I thought we were talking about during work.
What are you not getting about the barefoot on a boat conversation? What's not clicking?
No, what's not clicking with you? I just think you think he's walking around literally just toes out on a boat? I think the captain gets to wear a grippy shoe. The captain gets to do what the captain wants.
From watching multiple seasons of Below Deck,
he's fully barefoot.
Everyone's barefoot.
Okay, we'll post this, and this will be a fun little bet. I'm gonna bet you again $1 and a rum and coke. Maybe
there are grippy shoes he gets to wear in the captain area.
Yes, in the captain area. What if something falls? What if a anchor falls on you?
Yeah, there are stray anchors lying around in every room on a boat.
What if a frozen, fillet?
Okay. I'd like to move on to how does she live. So we're talking about their Turks and Caicos, like
home.
3-bedroom home, I guess.
Yeah, I am like, I guess like one, I am just like, what is his bride doing the whole time? Maybe she's like running a bar or something, but I'm like, what is going on at that house?
It's weird.
It's weird. I think it is like, can I say this, weirdly dark in some ways, even though like they live on an island?
I'm clapping because it's so true. No, because the thing is, I feel like it's like there's windows only on like one side of the house.
And then there's like,
there's a lot of tile.
A lot of towel because you have to like keep things cool.
Yeah, keep things cool, and it's like you don't want like fabric getting damp. There's a lot of moisture in the air.
There is like a small office.
I feel okay. Here's what
where
I think.
She does her emailing.
Yes, I feel like the house has like 4 weird small offices
that are like nooks in the ski
there's
condo way.
Literally so many office nooks, and she's always just like, I've been meaning to organize this nook. And it's just like she is spending maybe 3 to 4 years just like meaning to organize each of the 4 office
I think there
nooks.
are areas that like,
and there's printers. There's a printer that's unopened in the box. There's a printer that is opened.
my mom. Yeah, no, there's 3 printers, and she's like, I need to get that printer's staples to be repaired. This one does work, but it's only black and white, and this one scans but doesn't print.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's staples on Turks and Caicos. Turks and staples? I don't think so.
Oh, we never even talked about like the insane surgery that happened to him.
Oh, that was fab when he was like island healthcare.
Island healthcare.
He was like, so get this straight. I'm at a dentist's office. I'm at a vet's office, and I'm gonna get a dentist pulling a spine from a pufferfish out of my knee. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I'm totally awake.
Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, drink this whiskey. And then he's like, what do I owe you? $50. Can I give it to you Monday? Like when the crew pays me out? Sure. Island healthcare.
Okay. Here's my question, though, that relates to what does she eat. So on Below Deck, they call the guests the primary. There's the primary, then there's the primary's guests. You're the primary.
Right, you're like the
But you
one
get
who
to
hired.
send your preference sheet ahead of time, which says what foods you like and like what you want the chef to make for you. What's on your preference sheet?
Preference sheet. Okay, I want like tons of fresh fruit for like mornings, though I do still want like bacon. I do want like eggs for my guests, but I don't really want eggs on the boat. Like I'm probably not going to have eggs in the morning on a boat.
I 100% agree.
But if some people want that, I want fresh croissants.
So you want this bitch like up at 4 like baking croissants.
Well, I guess whatever, they can reheat them. Because I felt bad. I was like, ugh, it is that thing where like everyone's partying on the boat, and then they're like, you need to be ready. Like,
yeah. Well, that's on the show. There's always like one crew member is just kind of like one stew is watching as they're getting wasted at 2 a.m.
being like, fuck no, because
and then she gets to knock off, but then she has to get up again at 6 a.m.
The food they ate on the episode I went, and everyone was being like, oh my god, this is amazing. And it looked like the hardest chicken covered in balsamic. And everyone was like, this is amazing. But then, of course, the primary got so wasted.
Yeah.
And then everyone was up at like 7 a.m.
But then, of course, if you're paying $100,000 for like a few days, like, yeah, you want to party and stay up. It's just a weird vibe that I just feel like everyone leaves unsatisfied.
Yeah, it's like the crew is tired. You're like, I have to get like...
You're spending so much money...
So I have
to abuse these people and like not get good food, and like maybe it's stormy.
So I probably actually would have steak, because I feel like steak is a good thing that you can freeze and then easy to it's still good, like rather than like seafood. So I think steaks. I think cold cuts for gorgeous sandwiches.
Okay.
And
deli vibes.
Yeah, Caesars. As someone who gets so nauseous, I am kind of like, what can stabilize here?
That's why I want my favorite foods anyway, which I think are good on boat, which is foie gras on toasted brioche, oysters, and just like, let's just keep those coming.
Oysters on boat. See, that's why I feel like I'd be actually more, the oyster on boat feels a little nauseous to me.
Right. It's too like tone on tone. It's
a jiggling. I want them to dock, and I want to yell at them and say, I want fresh, shucked oysters when I got off boat, set up gorgeous cafe table.
Okay, I totally agree with you, and I take it back. I do want my finger foods, and I want my foie gras, my toasted brioche, but yeah, I want the oysters when we're docked. I'm having a memory of just like me being like new money and taught to be old money when I was a kid on a catamaran in the Caribbean, which was just like, we like rented a boat for a week and I was like vomiting the whole time. But then I also got like one of those patches and I was like fine. But I was like 8 and it was very like, this sucks. I'm sharing a bunk with my brother on this like boat that I'm sure like cost so much money.
Right. Horrible.
But there was like a captain. There was such a Captain Lee, and then there was his wife was the chef, and he had this like hot, sexy Sheryl Crow wife who was like the chef, and she was just making us like kids pizzas, and I was like loving it obviously because I fucking love pizzas.
Pizza.
But then I remember like there was this moment where my mom was having like a margarita or something, some
Sure
sort
she
of
was.
cocktail on the boat. And then I was just like, and like I just learned the word for virgin pina colada.
Oh.
And so I asked the chef woman, like Lisa or whatever, I was just like, wait, Lisa, can I have a virgin pina colada? And then my mom was like, sweetie, that's going to kind of be a whole thing.
Oh.
And she was like, why don't you not ask her to like go like muddle
Chop up
coconut right now?
and freeze.
And I was like,
Wow,
wow,
okay.
And it was very
Good
like...
on Maureen.
Good on Maureen.
Yeah.
Make the labor visible kind of moment.
Hell yes.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, sure, I'll have a juice or something.
And you learned from that.
And I learned to not make, unreasonable requests of the chef, who's, probably would just like to sit back for a second.
Sit back for 1 second. Okay, who are you?
But of course, I also think my mom was doing that because, like, she wanted to sort of reserve the chef's energy to make her cocktails.
Well, she was probably like, well, if I want a non-virgin pina later, like, we're not going to waste it on, like, blending. Who are you in the book? You're not the monarchs because you learned your lesson. You're not the rich family where you're demanding.
I mean, it's like everything about that is my least favorite thing in the world. Like a kitchen that I wouldn't cook in, a great food city I wouldn't get into. I wouldn't like explore. Making someone push a trolley cart of food across 6 lanes of traffic. It's like, I don't even want that food now. That's gross. I feel like I kind of identified with the British surgeon.
The British surgeon?
The British like dentist who like pulls the spike out of his knee.
Oh, interesting.
Because he was
just like,
okay, wait, this actually you're so right about him like getting head from people. Because he described that surgeon. He was like, this guy was very like pale and blue-eyed, and his name was like Seamus, and when I saw him he was said like, oh, like what seems to be the trouble today? Like I said, very classically British man with like tennis
like,
whites.
Good tennis. It's like you haven't described any women in this book.
No, and he describes like the physicality of this one random doctor in like such detail. It's like, okay, you are actually a top
full-on
like
homosexual
in an ancient Greek way where you're just like, I'm not gay because I am the top. And
right, he's like, no, I guys suck my dick, so I'm still straight. Also, wonder why he had to leave Indiana for the islands. I mean, and his vibe is just so Silver Daddy, and he also was talking about how San Francisco is an amazing city. Who am I in the book? Okay. I'm obviously the woman gambling and vomiting.
No, and they're trying to
pull me away, and I'm like,
buckets
one
away.
more.
Mama's got this one.
Mama's on a roll. Okay.
I honestly,
I don't know. I give this book
one like not changed engine filter.
I give this book one frozen lobster fillet in the last one in the galley kitchen out of 5.
Yeah, truly an unbelievable waste of my time.
You don't need to read this one.
But I do think that
I respect Captain Lee.
I respect Captain Lee a lot.
Come on the pod anytime, Captain Lee.
I respect yacht culture. I do think everyone should, if you're taking a vacation to some sort of beach type place and there is an option to like go on the boat, go on the boat.
Go on the boat.
I did a snorkeling trip when I was in Mexico recently. Totally worth it.
I'm very pro day boat trips. Again, I think going on a vacation, hiring for a week so you can sleep.
Insane.
In a tiny
Absolute
bunk
madness.
And pay millions of dollars? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Next week, we are reading Just Kids by Patti Smith. And we're going to have a very special guest.
And we'd like to say a very special Celebrity Book Club farewell.
Farewell to our chief stew, Meg Murnane.
Who has been with us since the very beginning of this goddamn cruise.
Day one, hoes.
Co-founded, started this goddamn pod with us. And
we were just a bunch of sailors that said, can we even get our captain's license?
And she was like, no, you guys have got this. Let's steer you through these
Let's go to Nassau.
rocky
Let's
waters.
apply.
Let's apply for permits. Let's make it happen. And then she has been with us for, it's been several years.
It's actually been, time just flies when you're on the sea. And she is now sailing off on a larger yacht.
To smoother waters, and we are very excited to see what she does. Stay in touch.
No boat jokes, aside all the boat jokes.
Yeah.
Earnest time,
Meg. We love you.
We love you, and 5 out of 5 podcast mics.
Good luck where your travels may take you, Meg. And we'll see you on the airwaves. And we'd like to welcome
Benjamin Frisch,
our new producer,
our new chief stew,
producer.
He's coming all the way from Slate headquarters
in DC, I imagine, or maybe New York.
Probably, I think, like more J Street, Metro Tech, less Dumbo.
Less
we
K
are.
Street.
So good luck, Ben, on this ship.
You're gonna need it.
You're gonna need it, okay? And you're gonna need some more wine.
Yeah. Get at the captain. I'm not talking about Lee. I'm talking about Morgan. Hey. Okay. Seriously best.
To everyone we just mentioned.
Yes. Okay, cool. So remember, there will be no VIP lounge today because it'll be coming out in 2 days on Friday, bitches, to get you ready for the freaking weekend.
So
to pump you all the way up. So we'll see you in 2 days, and God damn it, we love you guys so much.
Love you guys so
much. And can I just
much.
say something? Not to be rude, can you literally please
leave
the
a review.
pod? It's like not that hard.
Love everyone who has joined the Patreon.com/CBC the pod, but let's not forget the iTunes
store
reviews. I know it's a weird place, and like who is in the iTunes store, but
to quote Kim Kardashian, nobody wants to fucking leave a review anymore.
People
get off your fucking ass and leave a review for my podcast.
Best, please leave a review, and we love you, and safe seas.
Best. Celebrity Book Club is a 117-foot feeder yacht presented by Prologue Projects and docked in Panama. The show is produced by Benjamin Frisch, who is registered in Liberia, with editorial support from Leon Nafak, who works in a small office in the Port of Singapore. Andrew Parsons, who also works in an even smaller office in the Port of Singapore, and Madeline Kaplan, who lives in a container in the bowels of a freighter that is currently missing. Our production manager is Persia Verlin, who has a strong sailing background, just really general sailing kind of stuff. Original theme song by First Mate, Stephen Phillips Horst. Artwork by Galley Wench Teddy Blanks at Chips NY. Follow us on the high seas of outrage at twitter.com and Instagram at CBC the Pod, and really get into the rocky seasick discourse. Do leave us a review, as we keep mentioning, and I think ultimately word of mouth is what's going to help us make sure that we dock safely. Music at the top of the show was Georgia Stomp by DJ Assault. Thank you so much, and we will see you at our next port of call.